Hey everyone, good morning. I'm Jennifer Berry with Earth911.com, and today is our third Hangout in our Have a Greener Holiday Hangout series here on Google+. Today we are talking about greener dining options because I don't know about you guys, but I love food and the holidays and eating. Eating's my favorite part of them. I'm armed here with some vegan eggnog in a classic moose mug, if you all get the joke. And I'm here to chat with some experts who are going to help us have a greener dining experience. One of our first guests is Shane Valentine, celebrity chef and smart food shopping guru, so he's going to get us clued in. And then I also have Janelle Hutton, also known as Ms. Nelly Belly, supreme crafter, who's going to help us make some beautiful tablescapes. So hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out today with us.
No worries. My pleasure.
This is awkward to drink out of. I didn't anticipate the antlers here. Excellent. There we are. So I read this really interesting stat earlier on this week, which is that Americans will waste 3 times as much food during the holidays as they will any other time of year. I find that appalling and ghastly, and we must do something about it. So, you know, just maybe to kind of kick it off with something a little bit more general, if people do want to green their dining experiences or waste less, what would be your first tips to get them started with that?
I would say with food is, I think that one thing that a lot of people fall into a little bit trap of is when you shop and how you buy. And I think when you look at your menu of what you want to make and how many people are coming, I think we overestimate the amount of food. So for example, if you were doing like a turkey and ham dinner, let's say, I think the trap that people fall in is that they find the amount per pound and they do it for each item. And then it's too much. Instead of looking at like the total plate, they look at each item and they say, well, I need a pound a person for ham and a pound for turkey and a pound for green beans and a pound, and it just gets too much. And I think you have to look at how many people are bringing things and how many are going to eat, and then you could start to scale down a little bit because you could share the meal, the ingredients throughout the meal. As one example.
Yeah, and I would say too that we often make far more dishes than we actually need. We don't need to have all of that food. You know, we can cut back a little bit on how much that we make.
You know, yesterday we were talking about buying gifts, and we were talking about buying less and buying more thoughtfully, so that you don't necessarily have to not give presents, but kind of cut out the filler. Do you think that's sort of the same idea with our dinner tables?
I'm a big proponent of less is more. I think if you have a few of the things that you do or someone does really well, could go a long way. I think the kind of, we've come to a place society-wise, societally with food is like, everything's like gluttonous. It's just, like the triple Big Mac and everything's like supersized. And I think, and I'm not talking about minimalist, I just think just a different approach to food. Food is social, it's emotional, it's many things besides fuel. And one of those is love, and expression of love is a ton of food at the table. And I think we need to kind of look and scale it back a little bit, and it's still an expression of love, but not as wasteful or bountiful, I guess.
That is beautiful. I sorry, I got carried away thinking about making homemade lasagna and raviolis with my Nana when you were talking about that, because I think everybody thinks about it, they connect food so viscerally to the meaning of the holidays, but we wouldn't throw regular love away, so why should we throw so much food away? So Shane, do you think that you have some good ideas for us in terms of how we can buy smarter, maybe how we can make our dollars stretch, where to spend, where to save? What are some of your ideas on that?
Absolutely. I think that the one missing component in this food landscape, if you will, of where we are today from society is, that the life skill of cooking has been lost, and we're trying to bring it. There's a lot of focus on that. And I think there's one missing link is how to shop and how to find that and how to get quality products, right? Because the first thing everyone says is, well, real food's too expensive. And I think the question everyone should be asking themselves is the opposite: is like, why is that processed food so cheap? And if you start thinking about that, how does it cost 79 cents for a dozen eggs? I mean, if you really think about what goes into that, it's not mathematically possible unless you do other things that we don't want to talk about on this show. So, so one of the things is how to shop. And the biggest thing that I think that people come to me and ask is, they want fresh vegetables. They want they want to buy better products, but it's too expensive. And I think the caveat is that they waste a lot. The worst thing is to buy something and then have to throw it away because you don't get to it. So, like an example, if you're making a recipe and it calls for, I don't know, a cup of celery, a half a cup of celery, not a lot. You go to the store and you buy your bunch of celery, and you use a couple of ribs. This sits at the bottom of the drawer, and like a month later, it's disgusting, and you get mad because you threw it out, right?
Oh my God, you're totally describing my refrigerator. Does that happen to you, Janelle, where you totally leave leftovers and you feel really
more
bad?
often than I would like? Absolutely.
Correct. So if you're shopping for produce and this is labeled per pound, you don't have to buy the whole thing, right? So this was $2.49 at Whole Foods, right? But if I'm making a recipe, I can literally take 2 ribs off, put them in a bag, and they weigh it out. And so these two cost 64 cents.
I can break the celery? That's okay?
I did not know that.
You could do the same thing with like cabbage, right? You want to make a slaw. You don't need all this. This is, another $3 item, right? You can have the produce guy cut you a wedge and then take this and you pay for this because it's per pound. And so then, we're looking at a difference of, this was 62 cents.
Where are you getting these numbers from, by the way? You got to prove it.
This is where I went to yesterday. I knew I was going to do this. We can, I'll take a picture of this and I'll send it out.
Good. We want the evidence.
And then that's at Whole Foods, and so people think that Whole Foods is like whole paycheck, and if you know how to shop, then it's not.
That's perfect. All right. I can't wait to ask somebody to cut lettuce in half for me. Thank you for that.
Go for it.
What about our dinner table itself? I think that, we use all these resources creating these beautiful tablescapes, and then you end up throwing everything out or not keeping it. What are some ideas for how we can have some low waste but pretty table decor?
Well, there are a lot of options, especially if you look around your home and you look at what you already have in your home, and use those things that you already have. A couple things that I like to use, I'm a huge duct tape person. I'm in Wisconsin, and that's kind of the thing you do, and it's kind of cheesy, but I've taken and I've made some placemats that are made out of duct tape.
That's so cute. I love it.
The great thing about them is they're washable. They can be wipe on, wipe off. They're reusable. And in Wisconsin, everybody wants anything made out of duct tape, and so they're going to be something that's going to be used again and again and again. Silly, but inventive. Another thing you can do, candles are used very often in a table, and we get fancy with our candle holders, and we get all this fancy Pier 1 and all these places, and we buy fancy things. You can find things around your home. This is just a simple bed spring, and I put nails in it to stop the candle, and that's just a tack that kind of holds it in place. And then make sure you do set that on a plate, because you don't want hot wax all over the place. That would be dangerous. And that's one thing that you can do. I also do take, let's see if I have one here, glass bottles. These are just old glass pop bottles, and I paint them with blue paint and cover them in glitter. I fill them with water so that they're sturdier, and then just these candles, cheap candles, you can just shove in the top, and there you go.
And those look like such easy projects, because I don't know if you guys saw the earlier chats, but I'm not crafty. Somebody who works at our office is, though, and so the decor behind me are actually placemats that she made out of paper towel holders, and she cut them really thin, and we love them as kind of like a what's that word?
Like a charger.
A charger. There you go.
Yeah.
A charger, that kind of thing. Use it as a charger, and then you could even hang them up, and they're really pretty as, just some wall decor too. So kind of like a multi-purpose idea.
That's clever.
I like that too. Shane, are you a crafty man, or are you just making sure the food on the table looks delightful?
Well, I think when you're in food, I mean, it's an artistic form. So I mean, I feel myself as creative. I just, I wouldn't have painted the bottles blue with sparkle. I mean, I think it's great. I love it. But I think though, you bring a point back that you said earlier about your grandmother in the kitchen and creating these experiences, and food is memories as well. And what's really, I think what's most important that I would love the people to take away from the holidays is the people around the table with you, is gathering around the table. The kitchen table has been lost, and if we could do that, and we do it. Less is more. We make it pretty. We reuse things. Not be as wasteful, but to cherish the moments with people. Everything else will fall into place. Your placemats, your settings. Not everything has to be Martha Stewart, right? You could just do, as long as you get people together. I think at the end of the day, that's the most important thing to do.
I love that. Just slow down, take a minute, and if we appreciated more, maybe we would waste a little bit less. Janelle, do you guys ever do like crafts with the people who come over to your house? Are you the guru of the family who?
I am. I'm the oldest of. There's 10 of us in my family, and I'm the oldest. And we've grown up knowing how to craft and how to scrimp when we eat, and to make our meals very family oriented. That's just part of a big family. And crafting is built into us because it saves money and it saves waste, and that's just something we've always had to do. So we do have a lot of crafting things that we do. We bake cookies a lot of times. That's not necessarily a craft, but in a lot of ways it is. It's very artsy, and especially the sugar cookies that have to be decorated.
Those are classic for the holidays.
This is a little idea. I put a wine bottle. This is organic wine, and it's just in a wool sock with a little sugar cookie on it that has the name. This is my son. He is not getting wine for Christmas, but you get the idea. And family, they love something like this because it's very personal, and it brings that homemade feel back to your dining experience.
Ooh, I like that. You could even use those as place markers, to tell people where to sit if you have a more formal setting like that, and then you get to eat your name card, and I think that's kind of awesome.
Eating anything is always better.
Yeah.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you guys about, actually, so leftovers. I think that's another place where we have a lot of waste. So we already talked about overbuying, Shane, and not buying a pound of meat, for example, with each, for each type, letting people, because people are going to pick and choose a little bit. What about leftovers at the end? Do you have any, important hints for us to make them last longer, or maybe like recipes we could try out with our leftovers? Because I just get really tired of eating the same thing for like 5 days afterwards.
Yeah. I think, another thing to consider is to have the people that are coming over bring reusable containers, and that the expectation is that they take some of it home too, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not stuck with, 10 pounds of something. Everyone goes home with the meal, and then they get to share, and it's not overwhelming, as one example.
I like that a lot. BYOT, bring your own Tupperware.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as recipes or ideas, I mean, it's really varied on what the dish is. But if you could creatively start to think about how else you can do that, I'm a big fan of taking things that are from dinner the night before and creating them into some kind of breakfast, right? There's a lot of things you can do with veggies and create omelets with them the next day, or hashes with potatoes. And it just kind of recycles itself the next morning in a totally different way than other than like the same thing again the next day kind of thing. So those are my two off the top of my head.
Oh, I love those. Those are totally doable too. What about you, Janelle? Do you have any creative leftover tips?
I think a lot of times it's with food again. I do a lot of soup on the next day. There's a lot of soup. Mashed potatoes can go into potato soup. A lot of your vegetables can go into some sort of a stock. Meats, even the bones and the drippings can be turned into something else. Those are usually useful. Herbs, a lot of times we do buy, because I didn't know I could cut things. We do buy more herbs than we need. Herbs are great in scones, and they're great to infuse tea and lemonade and water with your cranberries and that kind of thing. You just let them soak in it. It adds something special. Those are the things I do. I haven't thought of the bring your own Tupperware. I'm going to use that for sure.
Yeah, I like that one too. That's real practical and easy. We could even decorate some Tupperware and make that the take home from your dinner, a little party favor.
Yeah.
This was awesome, you guys. I feel so much more armed with knowledge. And again, being a person who genuinely loves food and can't wait to eat, and has, and I just have a love for having those experiences with my Sicilian heritage. I'm excited to try some of these things this year and maybe sit down, have a little bit more meaning, waste a little bit less, send some people home with some boxed up to-go goodies, and see how this can go. And of course, eating on a beautiful table. Hey, Janelle, are those projects that you were showing us, are those on your website?
Absolutely. A few of them are not. I'm still in process of making them and getting them up. But yep, absolutely.
Just a reason to come back. And Shane, we'll stay tuned with you for some more healthy eating tips. And thank you both so much for your time, and happy holidays to everyone. If you are planning on tuning in tomorrow, we're hosting our last Google Plus Hangout in our Green Holiday series. Gather, throwing greener parties, traveling a little bit lighter on the planet. We'll be talking about all elements of your get-togethers. Same time, same place, 10:30 Pacific. I'm Jennifer Berry, and you've been with Ms. Nellie Belly and Shane Valentine, and thanks so much for joining us today. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks, guys.